Hi, I'm Natalie from Sew Hungry Hippie, and today I am going to be sewing the estuary skirt. The estuary skirt! Oh my gosh. Stop. Estuary skirt. And I am making it in flannel. So I have just cut out my pieces. I'm going to be using both my serger and my sewing machine for this project. If you don't have a serger, it's okay. Cut out your pieces with pinking shears. Those are the scissors with the jaggedy edge. And you can do a zigzag stitch on your seams instead of a serged seam. If you're going to be making garments, I suggest that you invest in yourself and get yourself a serger machine because it does speed it up quite a bit. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, step one is we apply interfacing to the front waistband. So let me go overhead. I have cut my waistband pieces out. You need to cut 2 from your main fabric and 2 from interfacing. So that's what I've done. And I fused a lightweight interfacing on the back. This one doesn't look quite fused enough, so let me hit it with the iron one more time. Oh no, that's one more time. We're gonna celebrate. Okay. And to the wrong side of one placket piece. Omit the interfacing on the placket if you will be sewing a faux placket. Yeah, I'll be doing the faux placket. I am not making 89 million buttonholes. So I guess I don't have to interface it then. Good. Finish the following edges with a serger, a zigzag, or a tricot stitch. And if you don't know what that is, a tricot stitch will be listed on your machine if you have it in the manual. So just look it up. It's spelled T-R-I-C-O-T. Looks like tricot. And it's like a little bit of a stretchy stitch, a smidge. Uh-oh, do I have my regular foot here? Hopefully. Okay, so I'm going to finish the edges. I did cut the back skirt. I cut both my front skirt and my back skirt as 2 pieces. So I will have a center seam going down the middle of my back skirt because I'm using 44-inch wide fabric. I couldn't fit the piece in one section unless it was, I don't know what I just did, but I did it and that's what I have to do. Okay. So it looks like I need to finish those edges. So let me show you what I mean. Here's one back piece. Here's 2 back piece. Okay, so because mine is a plaid, I also had to make sure that my plaids were matching up. So I'll take you overhead to show you this. It's not critical, like, I mean, I almost didn't do it. And then I thought, oh, come on, get it together. Just, you've been sewing garments long enough to line up your plaids for Pete's sake. So I did. So here is the, oh, that's a little bit tight. I wish that my camera was zoomed out a bit. Let's see here. Maybe I can zoom it out. Okay, so here's the overhead view. I more or less got them lined up. I guess I switched the purples and I didn't even realize it. Whatever, good enough. I'm just not gonna hate on myself. I thought I really did. Okay, well, good enough. I don't care. We're gonna just roll with this. This is how we do it, okay? And this is gonna look good. Okay, so steps 1 and 2, I did step 1, I fused interfacing to the waistband. Step 2, I'm skipping because I will be serging as I put the skirt together. So if you're not serging, you may want to finish those edges that she has drawn right there, but I'm not going to worry about it. So I'm skipping to step 3. I am doing the patch pockets. I like those better in a skirt than the inseam. You could even do both if you wanted. So I'm going to take my pocket pieces Oh, we're going to be working with the linings. So I need to cut the linings. I think I'm going to do my lining from a cotton instead of the flannel, just so it doesn't get too bulky. I'm going to use this space dye color. We need 2 linings and 2 exteriors. So we're working with 2 mirrored pieces. So here we are like this. Working with the linings first. If you want to use interfacing here, you can. It looks like a 1/2 inch by 8.5 inches is what we need. Might as well do that. Sometimes when I have skipped interfacing, I don't like the results, so let's just do what she says here. 1/2 inch wide. Okay, I cut that a little wide then. So this will prevent it from stretching. I'm going to fuse this on. So now we're supposed to trim 1/8 of an inch off the long side and the bottom. This helps the pocket sit better when you're wearing it. 1/8 of an inch is pretty small. Okay, there we go. The lining piece up and the outer pocket edge against so the pocket sides together. So this is, so we're sewing right sides together, okay. So we're going to sew the sides and then here. And then we're doing a stitch here, it looks like. Now I'm going to have to do this. I'm going to do the sides with my serger and that top edge with my machine. Actually, I'm turning it right sides out. I don't need to do that, but I'm going to do the other pocket. And then I'm going to go across the top with the machine. And at the top, I go all the way across. Now I'm going to press these. Now we're going to place the pockets on the front of the skirt according to the pattern pieces. And we'll close those bottom holes as we sew the pocket onto the skirt. So here's one. Make sure you're working with the correct side. Sometimes flannel, I think you can get away with any side on the flannel, the mammoth, but you want to make sure it's the same for both sides of the skirt. Okay, so I am going to go overhead. Let's see where these are placed. So I like to use my chalk and find the size. So if I put my corner there, oh, maybe it's over here. I always check twice. Place it there. Now let's check again. Yep. Good. And I'm going to pin that in place. When I find my pins. Every time. Why is this me every really? I am just all kinds of discombobulated. Okay. I like to pin a lot so I'm not messing up. Hi.
Got your cappuccino.
My cappuccino.
Cappuccino.
Thank you. What is it?
No, you don't do it. I don't think you.
My cappuccino.
I don't know.
Grazie. When we went to Italy, that one part, they all thought we were Italian, and I was like just nodding along, pretending like I knew what they were saying.
That's with Erica, wasn't it?
It might have been. I don't. Now I'm confusing the trips. Okay, so there's that. Let's make sure that the pockets are even. How many inches is this from center? 6 3/4. Okay, that's better. So it's worth it to take your time and make sure that the placement is even. It's easy to do one pocket. What's not so easy is getting the second one in the exact same place reflected. So don't feel bad. You look how I struggled there. Just take your time and make sure it's good to go for you. And now that I look at this overhead, I'm wondering if I have it right still. So now this is step 6, where I will top stitch this down. Now she does mention using double sticky tape, but I find that that is a little harder to do with flannel, but it's an option. It could just be me. So I am going to just stitch mine down. I used a lot of pins. I know it won't shift because I will take my time and go slowly and make sure this is good. So I back stitch the top corner edges. Those get a lot of stress. So I go back and forth there like 5 or 6 times. I'm leaving my needle down and raising the foot so I can pivot. You probably know those tricks from our bag making videos. You know what? I'm going to bring my pins here so as I take them out, I can just set them down. Oops, put my foot down. Okay, one is secured. Cute. Let's do the other one. Okay, that was step 6. So now we are, let's see. Yeah, we're done with that. Now we're on to the waistband. I'm going to lay these down exactly as they go so that I don't get confused later. When I make garments, I liberally use the floor because I just don't have enough table space. If you're lucky enough to have that much table space, good for you. But I do what I have to do, and that includes using the floor. Garments get washed, so I'm not worried about it. Okay, waistband, number 7. So the front waistband pieces to the back waistband, matching the short edges. Yep. So this is the back. The back one is long, and that will have elastic in it. And then front are these 2 pieces. I just need to make sure that I'm adding these correctly. Here it is. So That's one. That one I need to cut a little bit better. So we'll sew these edges here. You know, I need to check my seam allowance. Yeah, I'm not taking a big enough seam allowance. So I am going to put on my magnetic seam guide to help me, because this pattern has a 5/8 inch seam allowance, and that is so giant to me. So let me redo this. After making a lot of bags, it just feels so big. And I was just doing a quilt, some quilt blocks too, so that's a 1/4 inch seam. That's okay. All right. So we've got that done. Press waistband in half, wrong sides together. Yeah, press seam allowances towards the front first. Sometimes people like to press them flat, but I'm going to follow the instructions, pressing to the front. I may cut these down though. That seems like a lot of seam allowance. Okay, so this is pressed wrong sides together. And then she says on one long edge, press 3/8 of an inch towards the wrong side. So we'll open it back up. And I'm going to cut these seam allowances down a bit, because that's a whole heck of a lot of bulk. Now, she doesn't say to do that, so you don't have to. But I don't want that on my waist. Okay, I'm going to choose this one, and I'm going to press that edge all the way down. This is going to catch our raw edge later. So I'm going to take it to the iron. The more garments you do, you'll tend to see some of the same techniques used a lot, and it's because it works. So I already know where that's going, where this is going, I should say. So now it says to set that aside, so we can set that aside. Now I'm doing the faux placket, which means I'm not creating a bunch of buttonholes. I'm just going to sew the buttons on so it looks like a placket all the way through each layer, all the layers. So it's going to be a pull-on skirt that looks like a button placket, but it's really not. So I need to do the plackets, but first I'm going to sew my 2 back pieces of my back skirt together down the middle, because I've about lost track of them 85 times. So I'm just going to sew them together, and then it'll be in one piece. Just ironing that flannel flat, and I'm going to serge this seam. And that way I don't have to deal with any raw edges. You can pin this if you want. Now, just because I don't want to see any serger stitches, I'm going to also sew down that seam. Let me just move some of this equipment here. Okay, so I serged it, and now I'm just going to stitch it as well. I don't need to use my seam guide because I already took my 5/8 inch seam. This is just right on that edge. It's like a reinforcement. And this is what I do. Most of the time, what patterns tell you to do is to sew it and then serge each side so you can press your seam flat. I'm just not that picky, and I've done this for ages and it's fine for me. So as always, you determine what you want to spend your time on. This kind of a seam is fine with me. I will press it to one side. And I'll do that in a bit. Let's go to the placket. So this is the left side of my skirt that I'm working with. And I'm going to take the interfaced placket piece and press one edge to the wrong side like this, which I've just done. Then I'm going to take that remaining flat edge and pin it to the front of the skirt, right sides together, and we will sew down this edge. So here's the folded edge of the placket. Here's the flat edge, which I've lined up with the raw edge of the skirt, and let's sew all the way down. Okay, so the waistband is pinned to the skirt, and there should be 5/8 inch on each side that the waistband extends. So I did have to pull up my gathers quite a bit on each front panel. And now we're going to sew. So the entire waistband without 1/2 inch seam allowance. So we're going to change the seam allowance to 1/2 inch. Yes. Now we're going to grade this seam down to 1/4 inch. All right, let's enclose these seams. You're going to fold down the waist like this. And we'll sew right at the edge there. We're going to do it on both sides. Right here. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to put wonder tape there so that this is much easier. Make sure that this seam is pressed up. Oh, whoops, I think we were only supposed to do the back. Yeah, only supposed to go to here. This is the elastic. Leave the paper on that side. All right, time to add our elastic. Let me find mine. Okay, so let's put in the elastic. I typically, all elastics are different, and so I typically cut longer than what the pattern tells me to cut, and then I try it on and I size it down to whatever I need. Because this time when I cut what the pattern says, which is quite a bit shorter, it was way too tight, like way too tight. So that's what I tend to do because I've run into this so many times, just because different elastics have different elasticity. They're not all the same. So let's go overhead and we will put this in. I like to put either a safety pin down here, or I'll often put a pin on this end so that when I'm feeding it through, it doesn't just shoot all the way through. Okay, and this, we use that double sticky tape so you can just lift it up where you're starting to go in. You're going to sew this down at the junction of the front skirt and the back skirt, and then the same over here, the junction of the front skirt and the back skirt. You want your elastic coat to go in flat, so whatever you need to do to make that happen, do it. Even if that means this pops up on you a little bit, don't worry. You can always press it back down. We will be sewing that down. Okay, and I'm back out this side. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew down this end first. And then I will see how much I can cut off of that end before I secure it. I'm going to pop that right there. And I always pin it too, just to be safe. And I go back and forth a couple of times. You may want to just do this from the front so it looks cleaner and have a matching thread. I'm not going to change my thread on this because tutorials, I think you just need to see what's happening. You can use a zigzag stitch if you like. That's right in the ditch. You can barely see it. Okay, now make your gathers even. I'm going to do it there. Okay. Okay, for this next part, because we're doing a straight stitch across the waistband, we're going to pull the elastic while we're sewing it. And that makes those stitches stretchy. And it will also make your waistband not roll, so your elastic will never twist, and it's just way more comfortable. I really love doing a waistband this way. So I'm going to make sure these gathers are pretty even. Looks good. You may need to readjust that double sticky tape if it came off anywhere. Mine kind of pulled up in some spots, so I'm just going to redo it here. I may have to pin it. With the flannel, it can get a little bit, if you move it too many times, it can be non-sticky after a while. So if you find you need to add some pins in that waistband, just throw them in. You can pull them out as we go. Sometimes I think we're hard on ourselves and you do everything right that a pattern says and it's not working for you. It could just be that you need a little extra measure, you know, like, yeah, I did the double sticky tape, but I can see for myself that I'm going to need some pins in here as I'm sewing. You know, this seam is not, it's not very clean right there. It's a little bumpy, so I'm going to bring in, where's my scalpel? I'm going to unpick that stitch, make that seam sit a little flatter. There. And I'm going to put a pin in there. That notch is a little bulky, so I'm going to pin to the side. And I'm going to throw some pins in here, even though I've got the double sticky tape. I just know myself, and I'll need a little bit extra insurance. No harm in that. There. Here we go. Now I'm going to sew down the middle of the waistband as I'm stretching it. I may have to adjust my body, and that might not be great for the camera, so I'm going to do my best here. Turn it up to 3.5 on your stitch length. Okay, here we go. Can you see how I'm stretching this? I'm going to sew over that pin, even though I don't recommend doing that. It's because I don't want to get in the way of the camera. I'm pulling back here, and I'm pulling here. If you sew a ripple, please don't stress it, because look, this is how it's going to look. Nobody is going to see any ripples, so just ease up on yourself. I'm going to sew one in on purpose here. There it is. Ouch. And we're almost to the end. Look at that waistband. Looks great. Let's take a deep breath. We're going to do another line, but first, I'm going to take out these pins so I don't stab myself. And for my own sanity, I'm going to sew that open edge down because it's kind of bugging me. And then I'll go back and sew another row of stitches just like we just did, because she says with the fabrics, the heavier fabrics like a flannel, that you'll want to do that. So I will. First, I'm going to sew down that open. Okay, now is the second row of stitches as we're pulling. Again, make sure you're on a 3.5 stitch length. I'm pulling back here. and pulling in the front. It's not hard. It's even easier if you can be like directly in front of the machine. But I can't because of the camera, so hey, if I can do this, you can do it. There we are. Awesome. Yeah, it's going to be great. Now for this hem, you do want to have this hang up overnight or 24 hours to let the fabric settle. I'm going to do a quick serge hem, but I'm not going to roll it and do my final rolled hem until tomorrow. Now tonight I will hand sew some buttons on down this placket. It'll be a nice TV watching thing. Keep me awake. Trim all your threads. Oh, that's going to be lovely. I'm going to love it. Well, I'm going to let it hang on my mannequin overnight, my dress form, and then finish that hem tomorrow. Tonight, I'll sew the buttons on the placket. I hope this was helpful for you. If I can help you in any way, don't be afraid to reach out. Help@sewhungryhippie.com.